Hey, I'm Sarah Tegender, international speaker and trainer for a $40 million division in healthcare. With over a decade of experience working with healthcare providers, I believe that a healthcare practice should do more than just pay back student loans. Each week, I'll bring you the tips, tricks, and experts you need to build your practice both on and offline. Smart people take notes, so grab a pen or open up the Notes app on your phone as we dive into the Health of Your Business podcast. Emily Ahrens is an intuitive healer, psychic business coach, and someone that I'm able to proudly call my friend IRL in real life. She lives just about 15 minutes away from me. Our kids are around the same age, and I have been business besties with Emily since she was a practitioner, just like you. Now she's supporting clients on their healing journey, clearing and releasing blocks from energy systems and all lifetimes using things like Akashic records. I remember when she first started with Akashic records, and I was one of her guinea pigs. It was so cool and so fun if you ever have the opportunity to do this with Emily. She's been clearing energy for 2 decades, but she's taken her abilities as a healer and combined it with her love of business to mentor and teach lightworkers, healers, practitioners, and providers just like you. I highly recommend that you go and follow Emily, get into her Facebook groups, check out her Mastery and Ascension group where you're going to get guided meditations for anything that you need. And if you ever have the opportunity to do any of her online classes or even get into her mentorship programs, you won't be disappointed. Emily and I have been talking for years about what it really means to up-level. What happens when you receive resistance around up-leveling? What happens when you have that fear of what are your clients going to think of you? Are you going to lose business? Are you going to make it? I ask Emily all these questions, and I really hope that you hear these answers. I want to continue to talk to you about this because this is so huge. And one of the things that I work on as well with my clients is how to step into your power and show up as the provider that you need to be so you can support the right aligned patients in your practice. I am so incredibly excited to introduce you to my friend Em. Emily, we need to do this every weekend because seeing you live in person, I just get way more energy than just plugging you into my ears or text messaging with you because we're actually real life IRL, as the kids say, girlfriends, not just internet girlfriends. So thank you for being here. You inspired me with your podcast. So I appreciate you.
I'm so glad. And like when you texted me that yours is going live, I'm like, whoa, I'm so excited. Like you're the only one who knows right now. Like, I'm so excited for you. This is awesome.
I do believe I started mine before you started yours, and then you have like 50 episodes produced, and I'm like, I still have 3.
It was a weird thing that I did because, I was, newly postpartum, having my second baby, and I was like, all right, I have a babysitter for 4 hours. I'm going to record 4 podcast episodes. And then I did that week after week, and next thing you know, my VA was like, so we don't have any room for people until October. I'm like, I don't understand because we batch so many, and I'm like, this is like, it's a good problem to have, but yeah, it's, I love it so much. I'm sure you are going to fall in love with it too.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite ways to learn. And I think that, learning, and this is where a lot of my girlfriends do start, because in this tribe, which I know is the same as your tribe, as we say here in Boston, we're wicked smart. And I have a bunch of smarty pants girlfriends because they have got a lot of letters after their names, and they're practitioners, and they've gone to big name schools, and they have big degrees. And so one of the things that I always know is that I don't even listen to music in the car. I pretty much listen to podcasts. If I have the kids, I have my microphone on me, plugged into my phone. So they don't have to listen to podcasts with me, and they can listen to their kid music. But tell me a little bit about like how, because you're so smart and you started in a really big way right out of school. How did you, you have a license as a licensed massage therapist, and that's really where you started. But how did you get started?
Well, right after high school, and it's funny that you called me smart because I like growing up, I never thought that I was a smart kid or like, I had a lot of friends who went to Ivy League schools and I had friends who graduated top 10% of the class. And I didn't put myself in that realm. And I'm like, how do I have all these friends who are going to these schools? This is so bizarre. Where do I fit in? And so I actually, after high school, I went to massage school, learned energy healing, massage therapy. I started my own wellness center when I was 22 when I finally went to college. So I'm in college thinking I'm behind and I have to catch up to everybody. And it's like weird mindset. And so when I was 22, I started a wellness center with a couple partners and sold it 3.5 years later to my partners, got out, did my massage thing on the side, super broke and just like, I love what I did, but just super broke. And I didn't raise my prices. I know we're going to talk about prices for this. And so I didn't raise my prices for a good decade. And yeah, ridiculous. And I was too afraid because what if people would leave me? What if somebody couldn't afford it? What if they would complain about it? I was so nervous. I had this huge lack mindset of if I raise my prices, then people are going to leave. So I'll keep discounting myself to keep them here. And what I did was I kept a lot of clients, and I shouldn't even say a lot. I had a handful of clients who were wanting discounts constantly and expecting lower prices. And I kind of became the Walmart of the massage industry where I was like, all right, here's your session. Would you like 30% off? And like, I would constantly discount myself and I can still catch myself wanting to discount my prices or lower them, based on what I think people can afford. So any case, I actually ended up working for different corporate jobs and made my way I was still doing massage on the side. I was teaching yoga on the side, but I had like what I call a big girl job and just to pay the bills because I really couldn't afford it doing what I was doing. And it wasn't until my first son was born, and he's almost 4 now, that I realized I really couldn't keep trading my time for money the way that I had been. And I wanted to be home with him. I wanted to be around, and I also wanted to make more money. And I couldn't feasibly charge $500 for a back rub. So I knew something had to change. I was just praying like, how do I do this? What do I do? I knew that my current friends were doing the same exact thing that I was doing. So I felt like I need to like meet new people, I need to get out. And it's kind of the time where I met you as well. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you introduced me to Facebook Live. I was like, what is this thing? And now I'm like the queen of Facebook Live. So, I think it's been a long journey from the education piece to like learning how to use my intuition more, using the energy work more. And then finally, almost 3 years ago, I decided to bring my business online, started teaching meditation online, started working with more entrepreneurs online, and my business exploded. And I also really came out of my spiritual closet. I had not talked about my intuition at all. I had not really even like addressed that. But once I fully came out of my closet and started waving my freak flag around, people kind of got into it. And I started increasing my prices very rapidly. And in under 12 months, I managed to 10x my revenue. And it seemed like it was a slow incline, like a little, like 1,000 extra this month, 2,000 extra the next month, 3,000 extra. And then all of a sudden it was like an extra 15,000 a month, an extra 20,000 a month. And it was like, it just kept going. And that's what I love to do. I love to help entrepreneurs to get out of their overwhelm and into alignment, and really get out of their head space. Cause we can get really caught up in all that and get you out of there, get you into your heart space and do like serve people from that place of love. And that's what I really like doing.
I love that. I'm so proud of you. It's such a blessing to watch your journey. And there's a lot of things in your story that I just want to touch upon. I mean, one of them I think is, and I find a lot of women when it comes to having kids, there is that like line in the sand that's drawn, because all of a sudden when you leave the house, it costs you money.
Yeah.
And it either costs you, if you have to pay for childcare, or it costs you because you're away from your kids, which, most of us, I would say, are drawn to by nature. And that's really hard. And you can't really even put a value on that. I mean, you can say if childcare is, $15, $20 an hour, whatever you're spending, sure, there's that. But then there's just that also, like being away, or how backlogged you get in your, household responsibilities and duties. And I find a lot of people at that point, they almost kind of give up. And I love that it wasn't that you gave up. It actually was your reason. And, we talk a lot about with people, find your why, find your reason for doing things in such a bigger way. The other thing is, if you really think about what was going on when you were a massage therapist, I actually worked in the daily deal space and saw this happen. I mean, you kind of were part of this whole cultural wave of really deep discounts of, the Groupons. I worked for Living Social, I worked for another company called restaurant.com. There was a lot of discounts on the internet, and a lot of people felt like they were competing with that.
Yeah.
And so I also like to kind of give people a little bit of grace to say, like, it's not your fault if you felt like that, because that's kind of what was going on at that time. And I think it affected, not just, it affected the beauty industry at that time. It then went on to services like massage therapy, acupuncture. Then we even started to see it like chiropractic treatments, podiatry treatments, primary care treatments. I mean, I saw some weird things that were discounted on the internet. And, but you took it and you said, I have this passion. I think it might be weird. And, you got your freak flag or your spirituality. And for some of, my listeners, maybe it is that. Maybe they, say, I want to put a Reiki practice in. But they might even just say, and I know this was what happened in my family when my dad said, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about being plant-based, and I want to talk about taking supplements. And that to him was his freak flag. Like that was like, whoa, like he didn't tell anyone. He was in the closet about that for a really long time. And so, there are a lot of things that we feel like are so weird, right? Like no one wants to hear that from me.
Right. And I was afraid that if I started saying to my clients that I have this intuition and I have this ability that, they would be really weirded out. They came in for back massage and their shoulder hurt. And all of a sudden I'm seeing this whole like story play out in my mind's eye of like their childhood and what happened to their knee when they fell down that time. I'm like, I can't say this to them. They're going to think I'm totally insane. And then once I started like coming out a little bit at a time, my clients did the opposite. They're like, tell me more, go on. And, that's when I really started to see miracles shifting in the body work as well. Like I couldn't even believe things that were happening because I was able to just unapologetically deliver whatever was coming to me. And I never give myself permission to do that. I always kind of stifled myself.
So how do you do that? And then in prices, how do you give yourself permission, or how do you tell now the people, the practitioners, the healers, the light workers that you coach, how do you give them permission to start raising prices?
So I'm going to go back again and say, you don't want to be the Walmart of every industry. And especially as healers and any kind of practitioner who is here to help other people with their health, their wellness, their mindset, their spirituality, whatever energy, whatever it is, you have to understand there is always somebody who can afford you. And maybe not everyone can afford you, but let me tell you, I have sold anything from $9 meditations to $20,000 masterminds. There is always somebody who says I can't afford it. And even the $9, you're like, literally, you can't afford $9 meditation. And they're like, it's just too much. How dare you charge me? And like, people will play into that. Like, oh, well, if you're a light worker or if you call yourself spiritual, you shouldn't be charging anything for your services, which is a crock. It's like, that's not true. And that's their belief. And that's probably what's perpetuating their brokenness. So the way that I help people is well, it's multiple level, but it starts with you first. So somewhere there's a belief inside of you that says, that my clients are going to leave me if I increase my prices. That's what my mindset said. My clients are going to leave me. They're going to find somebody else. And maybe they will. Maybe that's true. But there's always someone who can't afford you. And what I noticed with my own price increases and the clients who work with me is that actually what happens is that you start to raise your price and a higher level of work starts to come through you. It's almost like you're not, like if you were plugged into a light socket that only had like 40 amps, but now you've raised your prices and you can plug into a switch that has 100 amps. And so you're actually delivering a higher quality of service that comes along with those prices. Every single price increase I've ever done, I amaze myself with what comes through from my clients. Like it blows me away. It blows them away. The transformations are instantaneous. The miracle, like it's crazy what happens, but you have to get over your own stuff. So how do you know you're ready for a price increase? The first thing is you start to get that, like I can't believe either I'm leaving my house or I'm taking away this time to do this thing at this price. Like it feels heavy to you. You're like, I remember when I started increase my prices doing virtual clients and I was $97 for 45 minutes, but in person I was 125 for 90. So see, there's like, I was making twice as much money in less time and I didn't have to leave my house. So then that 125 became like, because it wasn't an hour and a half. It was the half hour too. It was the 15 minutes before and it was a half an hour after. So that 90-minute massage wasn't 90 minutes. It was like 2 or 3 hours. And that's like, okay, for 3 hours, if I did 3 sessions, like it's just like the math was not working out in my favor. Because if I stayed home and I did 3 clients, I would make a lot more money and I'd make it in half the time. So it starts to feel heavy. And so you have to start giving yourself permission, like what is the next price increase I am prepared for? And maybe it's $5, maybe it's 10%. Like who knows? It depends on the person. But you have to be able to be confident enough to say yes to it when it comes to you. So what I do is like, my price increase will start to come to me and I'll be like, okay, I'll just let it sit and simmer and I'll just let it simmer. And I'm like, okay, it's coming. And I can feel it coming because maybe the session time feels heavy and maybe I can feel this new price increase coming. It's like, okay, so I went from 97, let's say as an example, and I knew the next price that came to me was 127. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let that simmer until I'm ready. And sometimes I'm ready looks like somebody who just paid 97 saying, this is way more valuable than this. Like, okay, thank you for the hit, universe. Like, thanks for the memo. It could also be me just going like, okay, today's the day. Like it happens when it happens. And I don't necessarily say you have to notify the masses that you're changing your price.
I had that as a question. I wanted to know. Yeah. Do you have to email everyone?
You can. So I also use that as a strategy. Like, okay, my prices are increasing after these next 10 sessions. So this is your last chance to get in on one of these 10 sessions before the price increases. In fact, that's how I started increase my prices so rapidly was, okay, there's 10 sessions available at this price only. And after the 10 are gone, it goes up to 127. And then people go, oh my gosh, okay. And then they get in and maybe they don't get in. Then maybe they'll ask you like, what is it all about? But they don't buy. And then you go, okay, the price is now 127 for the next 10 people. And they go, oh shoot, I didn't get the 97 one. And I don't want to miss out on another, low price. So why don't I get in now? So sometimes you can use like the 10 as like a standard before you're increasing your prices. And I will notify people. I'll email my whole list. I'll post it all over my social media and saying, I have 10 sessions at this price, but they're very limited and they will sell out. And part of that wording, like they will sell out, is also programming and teaching my customers how to behave with my company. Like I'm not just sitting here waiting for people to come in. People are scampering to get these prices and you better hurry because they will be gone.
Right.
So like, I think also like before I was training my clients that I always discount.
Mm.
So how are you training? Are you training your clients that you're in demand and your services are high value, or are you training them to just hold out for your 30% off? And I kind of look at it like this. Would you like 100% healing during your session, or would you like 30% less healing? Like, it sounds ridiculous, right? Like, do you want all of the healing or just partial healing? And and that's really what I was selling. I was selling them a partial healing session because I was cutting down my prices, which again, you're plugging into the wrong outlet. You're not plugging into the high volume, high octane. You're plugging into like this is okay. And it also says, I don't believe in myself. I have no confidence in my work. And you probably shouldn't have confidence in me either.
I just paid a hospital bill for some lab fees that I had done for myself and the family. And if it was over a certain amount, you got a 30% prompt pay discount. And so I originally called and I talked to the woman on the phone, and I said, I have this bill right here, but I have two others and they're not over the threshold, but like my account is all together. Like, can I just combine them all and get the 30% on all of them? And she was like, no, we can't do that. So, I mean, hello, I'm in sales. I was like, I'll just talk to your manager. That's fine. So I ended up getting the 30% off of like the teeny tiny bills too, because I bundled them all together.
Yeah.
Now, does that not make me think all of a sudden, like, if you can just go ahead and like with one question in 5 minutes, I mean, I think it took me an extra 5 minutes. I had to call and pay the bill anyways, but I saved an additional $25, I think it was, just asking for a 5 minute, question. It makes me be like, God, these things are so overpriced. If you can that quickly just like knock that much off.
Right.
And it really actually didn't make me feel very good about going back, about paying for it, about the whole thing. I mean, it was cool. I got a savings, whatever. I mean, that's just like smart business, but it doesn't make me feel really great about the brand. Like, I feel ripped off. Now, the next time I get a bill and it's, it's just a small little bill and I'm going to have to pay it in full, I'm going to be like, well, really, this should be at least 30, maybe even more % off. Right. And my husband was like, just wait and bundle all the bills together next time. Right. And that's kind of what you're saying is like, people could just wait till you have the next sale, the next whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, because I'm probably going to contradict myself on my own podcast, because I am going to have experts on where, I'm a big believer in doing like once a year big blowout sales and people like waiting for them and knowing that they're coming. And I love like Christmas time sales and things like that. But that's a whole different strategy than I think, what you're talking about, what we're discussing here today, in not being the Walmart and not always discounting. And another thing I really liked that you said was you started raising your prices in another part of your business while you were still doing massages. So you didn't quit your day job. You don't have to quit your day job to like make this shift happen. Was it hard to serve kind of two different audiences at the same time?
Not really. Because there was also some crossover. Like, some of my massage clients are like, what are you doing over there? Because I was telling everybody, I'm rebranding, I'm offering some different services, I'm starting to bring my business online, I'm shifting some things around. And some of them were curious and some people didn't want anything to do with it. Like anyone. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't super confusing. Some of them tried different things. And ultimately, it was really challenging emotionally to close my doors to my brick and mortar, because I had always been in a brick and mortar. And I'm like, I like to be in person. I like to be able to touch my clients. I like not, I think
you kept your office like 2 months after you even were seeing massage clients.
Yeah,
I remember one day you were like, I'm not renewing my lease. And I was like, you still have that place? I was like, what are you doing with it?
No idea. Literally just paying for the space for my stuff to be in some little room. But also I want to say this, like, if you think about the things that you invest in, right? Like, there are certain brands that we invest in, and if you like, let's just look at massage, okay? Because we were already talking about it. So that there's like the person who doesn't even advertise, who your friends refer you to. Both of us go to an amazing massage therapist.
Yes.
And she's great. She actually should be more. She should raise her prices. She really
told her that. Yes,
I've told her too. She needs to raise her prices. However, you can't compare her expertise, her level of work with like one of those chains that has people pumping out of there with like a membership sort of style. When you pay like $30-$40 a month, you're going to get somebody who's fresh out of massage school, who has no experience, who doesn't know really what exactly they're doing. So you realize with the price that you're paying for a certain level of expertise. And it's also implied with the price, right? Like, and I mean, I'm sure you've been to spas too, where you pay $200 or more for a massage. And it's not that it's that great, but it's like the perception of like, wow, this is going to be nicer. This is going to be better. There are certain things that like, I can't receive the quality of healing and therapeutic benefit unless it's at a certain price threshold.
It's like my iPhone. Like my iPhones are ridiculously expensive. Like they're dumb expensive for the pieces of plastic. But like what it does, like it's not a flip phone. It's an iPhone. Right. I can't live without it, you know? And so there are those things. And we do, like what you said, we try to make these other things like non-essentials. Like somehow we've made it that our iPhones are essential to like living. I don't know how we decided that, because I'm pretty sure I would be fine if my iPhone broke. Like it would be fine.
Yeah.
But I would probably like donate an organ if it did break and I didn't have the money for it, because, you know, but why can't our spa experience, our healthcare, our treatment and our healing.
You said you're going to donate an organ?
I would. I love my iPhone that much. I have like one addiction in life, and I think it is to my technology.
Think about it. Like, think of what you just said too. Okay. So let's think of everybody who is afraid of increasing their prices because people say they don't have the money. Don't have money, don't have time is an excuse covering up the real problem. So if your computer broke, if your TV broke, if your iPhone broke right now, you would find the money to replace it today.
100%.
Right? 100%. So why wouldn't it be the same if it's your health business? Like there is somebody who will do it, and you're not creating the demand for the value. You're not conveying the value. Your messaging is off, which is why maybe people are not investing in whatever your services are. So do you have any specific examples that you want to talk about, like what things, cost or what they should be charging? Like
sure. So there's we had talked about this right before we came on.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought this up. One of the things that I market and work with my practitioners in implementing is nutrigenomic testing. And I find that a lot of people charge just over what the cost of it is. So there's a very small margin in there. And so they're charging somewhere in the like $500 to $700 range. And I believe it should be a much bigger program with a lot more value, more in the like $3,000 to $5,000 range.
And so why do they say that they're not charging $3,000?
Because, my patients wouldn't pay that. There's no way. I would never be able to sell them at that price. That's what I hear.
Never. Yeah. So that's totally their belief. Unless they have put it out there and their clients have used those words and they cannot convey the value of getting this work. I think it's just their own beliefs. Like why would maybe they wouldn't invest in that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I, like we've talked about this before, like if you say, okay, well, Sarah, I can give you this Lamborghini for $5,000. You'd be like, what? That is the deal of the century. This is $200,000, $300,000 car for only $5,000. Like, are you kidding me? Here's my I'll give you 10. Like,
right.
It's understanding the value that they're getting. I think that goes underneath all of it. And I wonder if the practitioners who are selling it at such a low price don't fully understand the value of what the nutrigenomic, I know it's a big word.
The other thing, and it's interesting because you and I, we were, I don't think we were challenged, were we? I don't know. We just kind of did it. We decided to, and we're really bad at keeping on schedule with our Bougie Nights. And that's to go out and feel abundant. And do you remember when we did our first postpartum with you, Bougie Night? And we were so embarrassed at how little money we spent. Like, we're not even really good at Bougie Night. We're getting there. But the whole concept and premise is to feel abundant, is to, go above and beyond your comfort zone. And, for you and I, we do go to nice restaurants a lot. And so, it's our threshold to like really get above that. We just don't want to eat that much food, or like we just didn't want it. So we're trying to think of other things we can do to feel very abundant. But, and I think that that's a really good practice for people. And, and they say like the cobbler's kids always don't have great shoes. And I find that, practitioners don't spend a whole lot of money on healthcare because they can just, get a friend to write a script for them or do a throat culture if they're not feeling great. So it's not something that they themselves are investing in. But I think our concept of Bougie Night, I mean, it's, you have to maybe start by pushing yourself and purchasing something at that price, investing in something in yourself, even if it's not the same thing, even if you're not spending, $5,000 on a nutrigenomic test, but maybe doing something else at that level, taking a really decadent vacation, like seeing what the worth of this money is or where it can go for you. And I think money that you put out to the universe boomerangs right back to you as well.
For sure. Can we bring up when I joined my first mastermind and when I told you in secret?
Yeah. Yes.
So there was this thing, it came to me sort of intuitively where I felt really drawn to invest $10,000 into a mastermind experience. Yeah. It came to me, it was like, I felt like my inner guidance was like, if you want to grow where you want to grow, which was at that point to hit $100,000 in my business. I'd never done that before. If you want to grow there, you have to invest at least $10,000. Like, put your money where your mouth is. And I was like, ugh. Like, I was really scared of that. And I really didn't feel comfortable saying that to my husband, knowing that I was only bringing in like $1,000 a month. And I really didn't have the money to be doing that. I had no business throwing down that kind of cash. And I told you, and you were like, well, just don't tell him. And I'm like, well, that's what I was going to do. But like, I don't know. I just feel weird about it. And you're like, one day we're going to laugh about this. And I'm like, well, I mean, I really hope you're right.
We laughed about it so much faster than I thought we were going to.
We did. And the funniest thing too, so you said it boomerangs back to you. The funny thing too is when I put it on my card, I was like, I'm paying for this all at once and I'll pay myself back. Mm-hmm. Within, I think, 3 months, my dad randomly called me and was like, you know that I have these like old stocks for when you were in high school and you wanted to play stock market? Well, they have some value and we should change them over into your name because they're both my name and your name. And I think you're at the point as an adult that you can take these on yourself. And I'm like, okie dokie. And it was like $13,000. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it came back like that. But then my business, that was the 10X year that like, it was exactly because I invested in myself that things showed up. And so I think it goes the other way too. If you're a practitioner and you're like, I want to get my clients better results, you have to. It's for them. It is for them. Again, you're going to be increasing their quality of life, their health, and then you are going to be like the go-to person. You don't want to be in the sea of like ho-hum. You want to be the best at this thing and not be apologetic about it because you're going to give people the results that I know you want them to get. Like, that's the best part. It's so satisfying.
So many nuggets. I hope people listen to this again and again. And the other thing I want to say is that when you decided to invest 10 grand in yourself, you didn't put 10 grand into the first person that you met on the internet that was doing, masterminds and mentorships. I remember one of the first people you met online, I invested a couple, tens of thousands of dollars with, and you weren't as drawn to that person as you were to the membership that you did end up joining. And so, I think podcasts, I think Facebook groups, different communities are a really great way to get to, have a sense of the people who are out there, because sometimes even I find their free content is even more transformational than their paid content. But the transformation will happen in the transaction. Once you do start paying them, you will see yourself even more so transform. But I mean, the free stuff that's out there is so cool. And that's why I really love introducing my girlfriends to people who have the ability to transform their practices, transform their mindset, transform really their lives and the amount of people that they impact. And I know over at your website, emilyarons.com, and we'll link this in the show notes, you have a really great free community where a lot of transformation happens, a lot of free coaching happens. It's quite remarkable. And then you put out there when it is open for people to take a deeper dive and work with you. Is that a good place for people to start if some of these messages resonate with them?
Yeah, for sure. Start at my website. There's a lot of great podcast episodes that we've done. I've interviewed with people. I have solo ones and meditations. So you can sort through those places. But I mean, I think it is really important to have a tribe of people who you can connect with on that level. And when it comes to looking for mentors of any variety, you want to make sure that they're doing the things and living the lifestyle that you aspire to have as well. And not for nothing, it's pretty awesome having people like Sarah in my pocket, like as one of my best friends. We're on a very similar life path. We both really desire to make a big impact in this world. And, we have families and we have really similar values. So if your current friends maybe don't fit that for you, it's not that you should just dump them. It's about opening up to new relationships to come in to support the level that you want to serve at. And that's what all this is about, because ultimately it doesn't even matter what your prices are if you feel like you're serving at your highest potential. And that's where all this comes from, which is I want to make sure that all of you who are healers, light workers, practitioners of any variety, you are able to serve at your highest level, doing the work that you know you're here to do and helping people to the best of your ability and being fully compensated for it with your soulmate clients who love to pay you, who value your time, value your energy, and cannot wait to share you with more people. And having a business that thrives in that energy is what I wish for all of your listeners.
Raising the roof. Woo, woo. That's the way it goes. I mean, it is pretty cool too. When you do raise your prices, you raise your vibration. You can have bougie nights or fun trips with girlfriends. I mean, when you said to me, hey, Sarah, do you want to go to Orange County? And I could just yeah, sure. Booking a ticket now. That's pretty cool. And that is a cool tribe to be able to have. And just doing really awesome things. Emily, thank you so much for your generosity always, not just here with me and my listeners on this podcast, but your generosity everywhere, all over the internet. It does not go unnoticed. You are such a beam of light, and I am just so blessed to have you as a friend. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. And thank you everybody who has been listening. I can't wait to connect with you guys too, offline as well, or on the internet, wherever you guys find me. I just can't wait to reach out and touch with you guys as well. So thanks, Sarah. I love you.
Love you. Thanks so much for listening. I want to hang out with you more. I truly believe your success is related to the people you spend the most time with. That's why I created the free community, the Girlfriends Group of Health Practitioners. It's a safe space for you to connect with other soul practitioners who don't just want to keep the doors of their practice open, but they want to impact the health of their community. Head over to www.sarah2gender.com and hit the tab at the top that says Group. Go in there and introduce yourself today. I'll see you soon.